Good morning, cellists. Well, here we are at the final lesson on the G major Sarabande. Now, before we begin, warm-ups. Obviously, you can take any of the elements that I've previously given you. But for something new, I thought we would usefully add in another diminished seventh, this time beginning on the D, on the bottom of the instrument. This very tessitura and this chord is implied in the fragment of the sarabande we're looking at today here. So it'll be useful for us to know what it feels like in a whole harmonic context. Let me just show you in slow motion what it contains. So we start in first position. Stretch back a semitone, close the hand, open D. Now where my third finger is, my first will move there, that's an F natural. That's 1/4 again. Again, a semitone back, close the hand. Stretch forward a semitone, this is displaced semitone of course. Close the hand. Open D, go back to half position. Stretch a displaced semitone, close the hand. And it has the look of a little crab crawling across the string, like this. A beautiful mechanism that Bach loves to employ. So again, this actually relates to bar 14 of the Sarabande. So if you get that diminished arpeggio under your hand, you'll really be ready for that at bar 14 and understand the harmonic implication. Now also, to assist the Sarabande, we're going to look at some simple string crossing moves with the bow. So starting like this, between the D and the A strings. G, C. That's all it entails. We'll just consider what's happening here in the arm. So that as you are playing across two strings and oscillating to a top A, the ideal location is that your elbow will be higher than normal. It'll take the higher of the strings, so that in this case, if you play some A's, that location of your elbow is about right for the oscillation. So we have, you can see minimal movement of the elbow, and it's very much more, a rotation in the wrist here. And that similarly for the G, we keep it still fairly high. It'll drop a little, but it's not as low as we would normally have the arm for the G string. Keep it on the high side. And similarly for the C, it'll drop a little obviously, but it won't be as low as we are normally. Whereas we would normally be right down here for the weight of it. So that's one exercise you can usefully do. This can be done in a steady tempo, something like that. Now to add on to that, or for an extra challenge, we can look at some left-hand moves which follow exactly that bow pattern and get us ready for the Sarabande moves. So I'm in first position. I've got a fourth finger on a D on the A string, and that's my oscillating note. And I'm going to go up the string, the D string, in a chromatic way, but not with your normal chromatic fingering. So I would stretch back for a D sharp, then I shall move forward to E, put 2 down F natural, 3 down F sharp. Here it is, from an open D. And it'll be the very same pattern on each string. So we start on the G string, again this elbow higher than normal. And the final challenge, the C string, you'll need to arc your left arm to really reach over to the bottom here. And all the while keeping that fourth finger firmly down on the A string. Have fun with that one. One more string crossing exercise which will be useful in the Sarabande is much more calm than the previous exercise here. and that is simply like this. Again, we've got A, D, drop your elbow for the C, raise it as you go through the C, ready to catch 2 strings on the final up bow. Now that last move is really important to see that we have a dropped elbow, so that you'll get your C string to speak properly. Don't forget the angle, it'll feel a bit like you're pointing away to be perpendicular. And then as you're playing that C, raise the elbow, so you can try and catch the 2 middle strings simultaneously on a flat bow hair. This particular pattern relates to bars 12 into 13 of the Sarabande. I've added in the A to make a very simple repetitive exercise, but it will be from the 2 octave E's, an up bow, and that's the very stroke that you'll be practicing. Right, let's now finish the Feuillard exercise number 5. We're on to the last line, and this whole study has been about dividing 3 beats into 2 bows, and therefore when you have 2 beats you have a slower bow, and when you have a single beat in the bow stroke it needs to be faster. And this last line is absolutely reiterating exactly that. So this time we have slow, quick, slow, quick, slow, quick, slow, and then with almost exactly the same notes but a change of the stroke pattern, we will have quick, slow, quick, slow, quick, slow, and slow again at the end. If you just play it and read it, you'll understand what that means. We still have 2 crotchets for a slow bow, single crotchet for 1 bow, therefore it's fast, and then it keeps repeating the same pattern for this phrase. Then almost the same notes, but we're changing the strokes. So it's a single crotchet fast, a pair slower, fast bow stroke, slow. That's all it is. So the whole phrase is like this. And that's as it is written in terms of the stresses on the first beat. That's the presentation of this study. As you know, we've been experimenting with the idea of putting in a stress on the second beat to prepare us for the Sarabande architecture. So we could take that line and add in the stress on the second beat. It's quite hard on the slur, it's slightly more challenging. Yeah, easier. So the second half of that phrase actually falls absolutely into our laps in terms of the down bow is on the second beat, and therefore it's quite easy for us to put the strain there, or the stress there. Great, that's that study done. Let's now look at the final phrase of the Sarabande. So we finished the last lesson at the end of bar 12 in the E minor cadence, and earlier in this class I was just showing you the bow stroke that if you would play we will prepare for the transition from the end of the phrase at bar 12 into the beginning of the phrase at bar 13. So we have this octave E, raise the elbow before here. Now for this chord, the second beat chord, which is our strength, don't try to push right back to the heel for it. It would be a bit ugly to have this. I don't think it's appropriate here, even though we want a strength on the second beat. We don't want an ugly pair of demi-semiquavers. So don't be afraid of starting a chord higher up in the bow. I know commonly we start here, but don't be afraid of it. So flat bow hair. It's really just a touch because we want this melodic line. Again, you could try this following phrase all on the upper melodic line, let's have a look at that now. We would have this. So I missed out a note you might have noticed at the beginning of 14 because that low note is a second voice, which will resolve on the second beat of bar 14. Let's just see what it looks like or sounds like with all the notes present now. So you heard the voice here. Now there's the moment that your string crossing exercise will really help you, where we had that here we have crossing from G to A string. So of course it's about keeping this elbow slightly on the high side. It's fine because you'll have prepared in the previous 4 semiquavers. You're already on the A string, your elbow's already fairly high, leave it there. Again, leave it there whilst you dip down for the chord. After the chord, as you come to the point, flat bow hair. Now before we just continue with the rest of this phrase, a handy fingering tip that the semiquavers at the end of 13 go into half position. So I've played B, C with the 2, 3 so that my first finger's ready for the G sharp. Then stretch. And that this is a case where the chord with the bar is not appropriate for us to pre-prepare the bar because we need the melodic line with the fingertip action. We need to hear that, and if you play with a bar, you get less focused tone quality than if you go on the point of the finger, and that we've got time for the quick lower notes. Because as you move your bow here, you've got time to pop your finger across on a nice straight flat bar. You know, you really do actually have no bend in this middle joint for that. Bar 15, you can try practicing this initially not holding the D, so we would have this. And again, flat bow hair. Then all you do is to accidentally not let go of the open D. And there you have it. And the line we're interested in, although we've got the underneath part with the, which is it's a continuation of the voice which had this. You know, this is our second voice. But don't lose sight of the upper line because this D is the one that's travelling and we want our ear to follow that. So although you'll be preoccupied with your lower voice, keep the bow slightly more balanced on the D string so that we know that that's the line that's going to take off. Here we have it. We've now got to another couplet pair, which we've had before, where again we have the saucer shape, a little bit of speed at the beginning of the stroke. Sorry. This we have fourth position, back a semitone and stretch, and then stay in the vicinity for this last part. My first finger's currently over a G, but swap for a 2. So that it's nice and neat and ergonomic in terms of the use of the hand there, all nice and close and connected. So that our phrase from 15 is such. So maybe we should have the whole of this second section to hear that in context. And one other remark about dynamics, that when you come to do it as a repeat, this beautiful rise to the bar 14, it will tolerate both extremities, either that quite loud and assertive version, or a very gentle one, which when I upload the full performance you will hear that distinction. For this single playthrough of this section I'm just going to take the more obvious loud version. So here we have the second section then. Well, I shall look forward to seeing you next week for a different movement, and between now and then I shall be recording the whole of this movement with its repeats and variety of dynamic ideas. Bye for now.